Welcome to Defend staff meeting. I don't know if we call it Defend staff meeting anymore. If we have to go by our new names, or I'll just be very vague and say, "Welcome to our staff meeting, everybody."
Is it threat management?
I don't.
Well, container security is here too. So
But there's the sub department, right? It's the sub department name. And
the conglomerate.
The group formerly known as Defend. I'll go with.
We need a little symbol.
We're not going to talk about the standalone vulnerabilities icon right now. So let's get started. We've got, I put a bunch of stuff on the agenda. You're welcome. So Wayne is, as you guys are aware, I hope, participating in the CEO Shadow program this week and next week. So hopefully we'll get a lot of good learnings from him when he comes back. If anything comes up and he's not available, reach out to myself or Tiago. Just going down the list, thank you all for participating in Team Day. I was really, really thrilled. I had a great time, and I feel like I know y'all just a little bit better. I hope to work with folks on this call and other people to put together little like asynchronous fun things we can do, like Alexander's Mad Libs that he did during the Team Day. So just kind of keep that up and have some fun. And depending on what happens with Contribute 2021, maybe we just start doing this regularly. I thought it was great. So thank you all.
What if we I really like the puzzle idea, and that seems like something that's very, lends itself very well to just being like, whoever wants to pop in can do it.
I enjoy. Who joined Samir and I when we were closing the puzzle? It was anonymous, and I couldn't tell who it was.
Me.
It was you? Oh,
yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
I tried to too, and it was already done. It was a beautiful puzzle. You guys did great.
So we could do, yes, there's some things that I think lend themselves to just like a rolling async availability thing.
Yeah, the Google Doc is there. Somebody creates a new puzzle. I'll check in and throw a few pieces every now and then.
Yeah, I like that idea.
And I'm determined to figure out who the correct owners of all the desks are. So I set up some time to look at that and figure out which ones didn't have answers and start to bug people.
Yeah, we were supposed to put the answers into that.
Yeah, I messed it up too. So when I went through to fill out the quiz, I was like, oh, something's wrong. And then I realized that I'd forgotten to fill out the answer key too. So it would just be nice to know what the other side of all the desks that we look at look like.
Yeah, what's the follow-up on that?
Oh, go ahead, Matt.
Were we going to like announce winners, like who got the most right? I'm dying to know too.
For the desk contest, I don't think there's a way to, because there was like half of the questions didn't have a correct answer key.
Yeah, that was on me. I didn't do the instructions correctly. Actually, my own entry didn't have a right answer, so that's okay. It was still fun.
We could still do it. We could even like, I don't think anyone remembers what they guessed. We could just have people go through and put their answers in again, and this could be one of the fun asynchronous activities that we keep enjoying.
That's true.
Do it.
Like we say, okay, now it's time for you to show us your TV room or something like that.
I don't want to see any of your bathrooms at all. Like that's just
too late. Alexander already did it. It was the first thing he showed. I was like, and here's my bathroom.
I did show the bathroom. It has plants in there. It's nice.
It was nice. You made it nice.
Oh, all right, I'm going to keep moving on. So, I went ahead and created boards for our groups and decided shortly thereafter that I truly dislike them. And the reason is that the milestone is embedded in the configuration of the board, which is nice because I'm lazy and we don't have to update them, but it's not nice because you can't look at other milestones and there's this confusing period, where there's 2 milestones that are open. So expect new links from me later today. If anyone had been using them, I didn't want to throw anyone off. The overhead will be that we'll need to update the links to update the milestone. I've been watching what other groups do, and I'm seeing security, that same thing. Go ahead.
I got bookmarks here with one that shows the current, which just picks up the current milestone. Then there's a planning view that shows all the milestones. And then I have a manager's view that shows what each person is doing. Do you know if any of these are going to change? Because I do find them useful.
It's just the first one that you mentioned. And the only thing is that it's got that milestone embedded into it, which is, I'd say,
so to go to the filter
of the time,
instead.
it's great, right? But you know, I know that right now, for example, I see that Alan's already like starting to pick up some stuff from 13.2. He's, you know, you really got to work to find things that are outside of that predefined bucket, and I think it should be easier. If anyone disagrees and wants to keep a current milestone board, and I can instead just create a modifiable milestone board.
I can work. I can work with either.
Okay.
Don't do it for me.
If
So,
we
and that's
edit
what
the
Philippe's like, that's fine. Okay, go ahead.
if we edit the board, it will modify it for everyone. Is that correct?
Correct. So that's why I created these boards. In the past, and I think other people had been using the InDev in QA board, which allows you to add a group filter, a DevOps filter. But then if you change the columns that are on there or the underlying configuration of the board, it does change it for other people. So with these boards, these are defend specific boards. And you can see by the labels in the top left-hand corner where the dropdown is that it's, you know, threat insights and container security. They're labeled to try and mark what they are, you know, current milestone. But you're right, if you change the configuration or the columns that are on the board, it will adjust for everyone. I don't know about labels so much. I don't think so. If you adjust the labels that are on there, that's sort of like icing on the cake. You know, it doesn't persist to other people. Okay, moving on, 360 reviews. We keep getting that bumped back, so we've got a little bit more time. So procrastinators like me have until next Monday now. We don't have Philippe on the call, but he's got a lot of opinions on here that are just great. Why asking feedback for every submission? It's painful, right? You know, and some people got a lot of requests. So, you know, my response to Philippe is these are optional. Remember that they're helpful for your teammates. For certain people, you just may not have had a negative experience. I hope it's not the opposite and you didn't have any positive experiences, but it's okay to say, hey, I haven't witnessed anything that I think you can improve on. I'll let you know what I do.
Lynn,
Also,
I think what he's mentioning is that at the end of when you do like a survey for someone, at the end.
yeah.
The survey for the survey. Yeah, that's painful.
Yeah.
I made a point of rating that negatively from the second time on every time. Said, no, I hated it.
And unless I'm missing it, you can't go back to your to-do list.
That's correct.
That was my feedback as well on the notes. Like, stop.
Well, once
sharing
you
this survey,
submit
just
the
bring it
survey,
back.
it takes you back there, right?
No, when you
That's
submit
what I've been
survey.
seeing.
Right. So maybe we should have.
So you put the stars on it, and
submitted
I don't fill out any words, and I just hit submit on the bottom. It processes for a second, and then it takes me back to that original page that has the list of the people that I still need to review.
Yeah,
That's
but you
messed
had
up.
to select the rating in the first place.
I had to select the rating in the first place. I have to choose the.
And it's always a
I have
1.
to rate the survey. I'm an optimist. I'm always
good at
5.
something at 0 this next time around because I don't like having to do it like that. That's too many clicks.
Well, and I don't know if you just close the page, like say you open up the survey in another tab, and instead of submitting the survey, you just close the page. Has anyone tried this? Does it still submit your feedback?
I did this all the time. I open
And that works?
and then I close, I click in the email again. Yeah, just
Way to game the system, Zamir.
Going back to the people who received a lot of these, think of it as a compliment. Your colleagues want to know what you think, and your opinion matters. Yeah, you got to do a few more, but it's going to help someone.
I was talking to someone recently who gave themselves, was it you, Matt, that I was talking to about the put yourself a time box? You know, for people that you work very closely with, that time box might be different than other people. So if it's someone that's on your direct team, you might say, I'm going to take 20 minutes. For someone who I work with less frequently, I'm only going to take 10 minutes. But if you just put yourself a time window on that, I think it makes it a little bit easier to, I'm saying this as I have like half of mine still to do.
Yeah, it was actually something that I think David had mentioned, and it had originally come from Christy, or the UX director, and it's helped me quite a bit just to kind of give you permission to move on, because it is impossible to put feedback positive or negative for all those categories for every person. So if you just say, you know what, I'm going to give it 10 minutes, and if I can't think of anything, just move on. I mean, these are optional, so anything you put in there, I look at as kind of a net positive. That's been helpful for me.
Cool. I'm just going to keep going, you guys. I'm sorry, I have so many things on here. We've been talking about planning breakdown, and one of the pieces of feedback that keeps coming up is that it's always a better discussion if people take time to review the issues in advance. So the goal of this suggestion that I have is to encourage people to do that and add sort of a forcing function or some amount of accountability that says, hey, I looked at this. before this like, minute that you're asking me to. And I've been chatting with Tiago and other people about ways to do that. And we were talking about potentially asking people to add like an emoji. We have a list of say 3 issues in the planning breakdown list for a group call that's coming up, and you do your homework in advance and take a look at what's on there. We would just ask that you reply with like, we joked about a carrot or something that's very specific, not a thumbs up or thumbs down, or one that people would generally use for other purposes, to say, hey, I looked at this. And it's as much just to make sure that, to reiterate to you folks that it's important to, do that in advance and be as asynchronous about this as possible, but also just to try and make the most of that time that we have synchronously and use it not as just an overview of what this issue is about, but to answer some of the harder questions.
Yeah, it helps because you can hover over that emoji and see the people who are in the call who have carroted it, and then right, Samir can talk about this because he's seen it. And I think the carrot's a great idea, Lindsay, because I was telling Lindsay, it's going to keep people wondering. It's like, is this a play on words? Is there a stick emoji? Is it a carrot and stick thing? What's going on here? It's good. Create a bit of mystery.
It's the carrot emoji until people still aren't looking at it, then comes the stick.
When we'll change it, right? We're gonna ask for a different emoji after that point. And I don't think we're not trying to like micromanage or police people in this sense. I read some handbook items, and I think it was Thomas Whittem who really pushed this idea of forcing functions a lot. And I think it's really helpful in an asynchronous environment. So Daniel, you had a question about the emoji. Does that answer it? It's just that you've looked at it, but we could go a step further. I've noticed that certain people who look at these issues prior to planning breakdown actually make sure that they ask their questions in the issue, which is the best place to ask the question, right? So we could say that you've looked at it and you've asked the questions that come to mind. That's not to say you don't have more that come up for the synchronous discussion, but we could define that to the degree that we think is appropriate.
I think a carrot, just to signify that you've looked at it and may or may not have left questions, is sufficient for now, in my opinion. Because maybe you don't have questions. It's fine.
Makes sense to me. Does anyone think this is a horrible idea and we just shouldn't do it?
I think it's a good idea. I mean, I think it would be encouraging to like at least put something on one of the issues for everyone. I mean, it might be hard to kind of come up with one, but it forces us to really take a deep look. It's like, yeah, okay, good. At least on one of them, work to put something on one of them.
How do you feel today? How did you feel writing this issue?
How did this issue make you feel?
This issue is well written.
I think.
I like Alexander's response in that it's kind of a step in the right direction. We could decide in the future that we want to encourage more asynchronous questions and issues, but it's really let's take that first step towards really getting people to look at them in advance of the synchronous discussion.
I agree. Maybe just agreeing on the carrot will prompt people to ask questions, and then we'll naturally start doing what Jonathan's suggesting. Zamir, you've been writing for a while. Should I throw that in?
Yeah, I can. I think that when we started the weekly group, it was like the idea that I think Thomas had the idea, if I'm not mistaken, was that there was a couple of issues that were not straightforward. Let's say, for example, the network policy at the time, it was a huge issue with lots of comments and people having different opinions. So the idea was to have this meeting so then the engineering team could clarify that and ask the product owners about that. And then I think there was a little bit of shift there. So it became more like a team thing instead of being more like a clarification. And then the POs, they start like presenting the ideas and presenting the tasks that that's going to come in the pipeline and things like that. And on the same time, previously we had a task assigned to someone to do the grooming, for example. So then this person knew that task was more or less what they are like going to focus right now. And now it's kind of everybody looks at everything. So I think all this evolution that we are having in this weekly meeting, that's why it's coming up with a little bit of inconsistency from most people, including myself. I don't know the
that's a
solution.
really good point. That meeting is expensive, right? We only got 30 minutes a week. If we could be a bit more selective about the things that we bubble up, so maybe not everything needs to go be talked about in the meeting. So some of the simpler things can just move from planning breakdown to refinement asynchronously, and then we leave the expensive sort of meeting for these. I like it, Samir.
And I do think we've had some success with that. I remember at least one call that we were on where someone had questions, and then I think Tiago, you were maybe writing in, and you were like, do you have any, I see you posted some questions, do you want to talk about it? And the person was like, no, I'm fine with leaving this asynchronous for now, let's move on. I think that's in the spirit of asynchronicity. So let's continue to do that.
Okay.
Cool. So then still
sorry,
bring up.
Just to add one more thing to respond to Zamir's comment, and I put it in the message as well. I think that the goal of that meeting had always been around planning breakdown, which is that high level conversation to ask questions about, understanding the requirements and getting things into the right place where someone can then pick it up and groom. So I don't know if that answers your question at all or your concern. Are you seeing that we're getting too much into the weeds of grooming in those discussions? Was that your observation, Zamir?
No, it's more like I noticed that we have been like evolving and bringing the meeting kind of slightly different format from time to time. I think it might take some time for us to come to a single format that it's going to address our main problem. That's why I think the main point for me was that I think that the inconsistencies that we are having in some aspects or another is just because of this change.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that feedback, Zamir. Sorry, Tiago, go on.
I forgot. I'm sorry.
Hey, I heard Matt's going to be out next week now. Go ahead.
I think Tiago was going to agree with me, if I remember correctly.
I think it was just summarize. I was going to ask. So do we still bring all the planning breakdown issues, and during the meeting we can just say, nah, we good to keep that asynchronous? Was that the proposal, Alexander?
Yeah, exactly. Cool. It'd be like, here are the tickets. Everyone should look at them before the meeting. Bring their questions to the ticket, and if there's anything they want to verbalize, they can. But otherwise, they should, who's ever leading it should be like, does anybody want to talk about any of these tickets? Yes or no, and then move from there. Is my suggestion.
Whereas I know Matt or Sam, if they have big, MVCs or stories that they definitely know will want discussion, I think that those would maybe be an exception, right? Those would just, no?
You'll have to run it past me, but I will allow it if it seems fit.
Well, I've been a little bit inconsistent about putting things on the list for planning breakdown. It's a bug and it's very clear, especially if it was created by someone in this group, especially a follow-up. Typically put those into refinement and just assign them to someone and kind of skip over the planning breakdown. If you'd like to see those items listed on a planning breakdown list as well, it's just to have the option to say, now we're good. I can start doing that. And just recreating the list of all the new issues there seems like it could get long. Whoa, Sam and Matt are both out next week. Party. We're gonna just build whatever we want.
Tech Debt week.
Yeah, right. Thanks for letting us know, Matt and Sam. It's great.
This is more dangerous because you're going to realize, like, oh wait, they were gone. Like, things were fine. We didn't need them at all.
Never.
This is why product managers never go on vacation. They don't want anyone to find out the truth.
There needs to be a thumb down reaction in Zoom.
I was gonna cut out some cardboard and lift them up so it shows near me here. I can do whatever I want, but I got lazy and I didn't do it. So somebody more creative and artistic can do that. I think you, Jonathan. I vote you.
to get cardboard cutouts of Matt and Sam while they're gone.
No, just put the emojis on a stick, and you can leave them
there you go.
behind your shoulder when you know, in lieu of the reactions. I've added one more
I'll
item.
I'll just write a script that opens Zoom without video for all my meetings and
Muted.
post in the chat. Having audio issues today.
No. Here's what you do: you get like an emoji with the picture, like the picture of the emoji right here, and so you just change your virtual background to whatever emoji you want to put up there.
There we go.
Everyone will be like, I didn't get that one in Zoom. How do you get that emoji in Zoom? What did you do?
I think I'm gonna have a cardboard cutout of Matt and Sam behind me and be like, oh yeah, they're on PTO, they're visiting me. What's that? They said we should make everything turquoise.
Red text on a blue background.
Oh, what's that? Thread Insights isn't a priority anymore. That's what Matt said.
Well, we're gonna have to rename this meeting anyway, right?
It's not going to be Threat Insights anymore either, right? That's getting changed.
No, so Threat Insights. That's a good question. So the team name is staying the same. On the website, it will live under the secure section, but every person is the same. So what we're really doing it for is to confuse everyone inside of GitLab.
Because Wayne,
Is that a reason to be so confusing?
So the poll is about the sub-department name, right? So this goes back to the hierarchy. No, there's groups. There's groups and there's stages. And there's divisions and departments and sub-departments. And I don't understand any of them anymore. I thought I did at one point, and now I've just given up entirely. Matt, you want to summarize, like in a nutshell, what's going on?
I am not going to do a good job of this. I actually saw, Kenny Johnston, one of the directors of product management, actually just opened up an issue to say, hey, this is super confusing to everyone inside of GitLab. There's a difference between the way that we have the product structured. So this is that sort of marketing externally facing. This is where we end up with its section, stage, group, category is the hierarchy. For organizing the stuff that we build, that's separate, but often very much, I guess, aligned with organizational structure. So this is what was it, division, department, sub-department, team, or something like that. That's why this is confusing, because we will end up with a sub-department that actually crosses stages, which doesn't seem to happen very often. And a lot of the ways that we talk about things aren't really structured to make that clear.
I was trying to keep track of that, and at some point I was thinking that it was created intentionally confusing. So then I said, okay, I give up.
It has gotten that way, believe me. I'm equally as confused by this. But the reason that I think it was done is the executive team had made the request, and I know a lot of our customers think about vulnerability management in particular as being part of the secure stage. And so I think just from a messaging perspective, it does make some sense. Obviously it did make sense to move all the teams around and everything. So that's why this is such a weird thing, because we had to move it between stages.
And the place where I expect us to get the most frustrated will be around labels for our issues. And there could also be some rollout in how our metrics are set up in places like Periscope. So for the most part, from the engineers on the team, it shouldn't affect what you guys are doing on a day-to-day basis. We'll have to be careful that we don't lose issues or that people from Secure don't pick up our issues. So I'm already talking with folks like Neil McCorson. I think it gets especially confusing across the front-end team because they don't have dedicated, you're not just on one group there. So they look at everything in Secure across all of front end, which isn't going to work once we start adding Secure labels to Threat Insights issues. So
Secure-ish label?
Secure-ish, right. That should be right. And I didn't see that proposed in the poll for a name for the subgroup. It should just be Secure-ish. I like it.
I'd vote for that.
And Sam, thank you for adding more context here in the agenda to this. If you want to share any of it with us verbally, go ahead.
I was just restating what Matt said, so
okay.
I think we verbalized that.
Cool.
And then there's that issue if anyone wants their brain to hurt further about this.
And the funny thing is that at some point, someone's going to look to the labels and say, oh, the labels are confusing. I don't know why the labels are not working. The team is not consistent.
Well, I think the good news for that is because we're keeping the group name the same by moving it from defended to secure, it's still going to say group threat insights on everything that the threat insights team has been responsible for. The only change is the DevOps secure label. GitLab is supposed to work, or the way it's supposed to work with the labels is whatever group labels applied as the group that's doing the work, to allow for teams to grab things out of other groups and stages backlogs if they need to implement something more quickly. So we're actually staying with our own pattern on this. It's just there's going to be a lot of old DevOps defend labels that all need to go update on stuff. I think that's less important, I think.
Diego, you got our last agenda item, and we got 4 minutes left. Take the
Let's
floor.
not, unless somebody really wants to. I
we
threw
can
it in there.
Move this to the next one. And I'm also wondering from Tiago, Matt, and Sam, I don't know if we've shared our discussions or the outcomes of our discussions of wanting to improve the way we're using epics and breaking down things into implementation issues. So that might be a good agenda item to share with the team in the next staff meeting as well. I know that it's already kind of on our 13.1 retrospective that it's frustrating that, you know, we can't move things independently across the workflow and things like that. So
I did, as part of that, I did dig up into the plan and portfolio management group. They have plenty in the works around this. So we can participate, give feedback, but it sounds like it's already going the direction that would be more useful to us. Otherwise, it's just
subtasks, you mean? Things like that?
No, that specific item that I said, the
epic.
showing epics in the board and being able to manually order the epics in the board. Because right now you can't prioritize epics.
All right, so we'll revisit this in our next staff meeting. For now, I think, unless anyone else has any topics they want to bring up, we are at the end of our time. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.